What's going on, SSBL peeps? Welcome to episode 8 of Jacked.
Hey, you did it.
I did
I'm
it.
proud of
I
you.
did it.
I'm proud of you.
I had to do a quick little thought of what week are we going into. Week 8, or going, or we just concluded, I guess. See, there we go. So week 8, episode 8 here for Jacked, and we have a few different things that we're going to talk about, as you see on your that way over there.
You got it.
Fisack,
You are nailing this right now, Josh. You're doing such a good job.
So we're as normal, a week or the episode after a Super Saturday week, we go over the whole divisions and see how the picture is playing out. But we also have a new segment, as you see, called League Chatter. Instead of like basically this one will be taking y'all's takes, what your thoughts are, what questions do y'all have about the league and the current state of the standings, certain teams, players, etc., and we'll kind of break that down ourselves. And of course, Mojo down is back. We'll see what Fisack has to ramble on, but we'll go right into it and get into these division recaps after a quite an interesting week. We capped it off with a really great game of the night where we thought it was going to be a little bit closer than it was. I think you actually had it at 12-3, the Bombers Serpents game, I think is what you might have had it. That's if I'm not mistaken. It was you had it at a much larger spread of a win than I did. But they came out swinging, and we'll get to that when we get to the Epic Conference. We'll start off though in the heroic with the Icons. The battle of two teams. They're both at 6-4. So, and this is the crazy part. Overdrafts lost the Retrievers. The Retrievers have the head-to-head so far. They play in 2 weeks. But the Overdrafts have a plus 31 run differential to the Retrievers 11. So,
I mean, I do want to say before we continue here, the Liberty got their first win. Granted, it took Bibberty Gate with the little power going out at Whitney's place, and we had to figure out what we were doing to get it loaded back in. So appreciation to you to help clarifying in the rules and everything there.
And luckily we had that in the rules of like not just like, oh, okay, if the power goes out, this is what happens. But it was like, if this happens, this happens. If this happens, this happens. Like, shout out to Zarby for putting that together when you wrote the rule book initially, because there was like, okay, power went out. Okay, we are tied. Oh crap, we're tied. Now I got to go to here.
We're going into extras.
Yeah, so we just have to play. First team to really score through an inning. Obviously, home team still gets an at bat, but it only took one inning. With an absolute bomb to left center field at Motor Yard, and then that was all she wrote.
I do want to highlight from the last time that we speak. So both the Overdrafts and the Retrievers are 6-4.
Yep.
Entering this week, the Overdrafts were 6-3. Entering that Super Saturday when we did this podcast. Mm-hmm. The Overdrafts were 6-3. The Retrievers were 5-2. And the Retrievers went 1-2. The Overdrafts went 0-1. So it's a division. I mean, like the Overdraft started out and it looks like at first it was, man, the Overdrafts look really good. And now it's like the Overdrafts don't look so good. And then the Retrievers, like, they lose by 2 to the Gauchos. That's not much at all.
Right.
But if there's an issue with the Retrievers, have the Retrievers had like a statement win?
If I'm looking at their schedule, the statement win, I mean, the only statement, like, you can't call a 14-4 game a win over the Moonshots a statement. The closest you're gonna get is maybe a 5-2 over the Overdrafts. That's your statement win.
That's a good win. That's your statement. That is your. That's also only by 3, and they also beat the Romfielders 5-1.
Right.
But then you beat the Moonshots by 1 run, and then you get upset by a Vikings team that has no business competing right now in terms of the heroic chase. Like that win single-handedly put the Retriever or put the Vikings back into the conversation And that's, by the way, the second straight Vikings 3-2 win after walking it off against the Knights. We'll talk about that with the Legends. But I mean, I talked about it in my power rankings. Like, does anyone in this division know how to play when the Moonshots are not the best team in the division? I'm not convinced that any team
I
wants to
don't think
lead the
so.
Icons.
I don't think so. I mean, the Icons have been ruled by the Moonshots since it was like since its beginning,
Every single
since the beginning of
iteration of
time.
it.
Since the beginning of time, the Icons have been ruled by the Moonshots, and the fact that the Moonshots are tanking and tanking in the best way possible that we have never ever seen in this league, it's like you said, it's very hard to kind of be like, well, like what like what is going on. But we look ahead at the games that these two teams in this division have. They're both at 6-4. Overdrafts will face the Skulls of Rock. That should be a win for the Overdrafts, in my opinion. um
And Retrievers face Angels, and pending a Stingers, that should be a win for them as well. So they should
right,
both be sitting at 7-4.
7-4 heading into week 10 day 2, where they face each other for the second time this season, and that will kind of shape that division, honestly, because the Retrievers then face you and the Dragons on Super Saturday. So I think it's a crucial few games. You can't mess up against the Angels, and we also can't, like, the Angels are trash, and we know that they're trash, but as we saw with the Stingers, you can't just count them out. Like, you can no longer count them out, especially if Tina Tai goes up at the plate. You just can't.
According to the rankings that I did with like all the funny math and stuff, the Angels are actually only the 17th batting team, which, like, that's bad, right?
Mhm.
But that's not as bad as you would expect. Like, there are a lot of teams that are a lot more worse in terms, like, the Knights are batting worse than the Angels, which, when we consider the way the Knights have been playing this season, it's not unheard. It really, I think that, listen, that Stingers loss, or that being win over the Stingers was still a bad loss for the Stingers, but it's not as drastic
No,
as we were expecting,
no.
according to the math at least.
Right. No. So this Icons division, as we've said from the very beginning, it's between two teams, and it is literally coming down. They're now at 10 games. 6 games are remaining. One is against each other. So it's about to get really crazy in the Icons. And every game matters. Every game matters. Especially this interconference game, because that, like, you gotta win. These are almost like shoe-in wins for the Retrievers and Overdraft, so you can't lose these. So we'll see how week 8 plays out, or week 9, excuse me, plays out with the interconference games. We'll move on to the Legends. This is one where, the Lumberjacks have basically kind of sealed it, in my opinion. I think it's done mathematically. No, it's not, but I think it's over. I think this Lumberjacks have won this division. They're 8-2. They should technically be, in my opinion, they should be 9-1. I mean, that tough loss to the Ball Players that could have been their win. So this division, it's a wrap. Vikings, Knights. The Vikings are going to fight for that playoff spot, and we'll get to that in league chatter as well as later on. But it's over. This division's over.
Yeah, the Vikings are 3 games back. I love, by the way, how I had the rant last week about saying anything's a lock, and yet everything I've said this week and on this podcast is well, this is a lock.
Yeah.
So it's funny how it works out. But yeah, the Vikings are 3 games back with 6 games remaining. That's just tough, man. Especially because, like, it's not like the Lumberjacks have a hard schedule to
No.
end the season as well. So I think for the Vikings, like, they've shown a lot of fight. I've been really surprised by them
Right.
this week. I mean, they showed tenacity in getting that win over the Knights. They showed tenacity in getting that win over the Retrievers. Unfortunately, the offense just isn't there for them, but the pitching is there. Like,
Mhm.
the initial question we had is, when your starter goes out, what's going to be the end result? And it has been the fact that it has been the Tammy John coming in and being able to cut up a bulk of innings, and then you only having to do 1 or 2 innings from another reliever. But there's also just the fact that the starters have been pretty rock solid, to be honest, as of late.
Yeah.
So the issue for them is that they just, I mean, like by the time this goes out, the trade deadline will have already passed, or not passed, but it'll be about to pass. And I just don't envision the Vikings making a move, at least from everything I've seen in chatter and the conversations I've had. I just don't see them getting another bat, and that's unfortunate for them.
Yeah, that's definitely what they need. As I mentioned, before, I think in the chat, when I think it was during this game where they had the comeback and walk-off home run, I was mentioning that the Skulls offered the Vikings Wreck Dreams back in probably week 3 or so, and they declined it. So that's a big bat that you imagine Wreck Dreams on this roster
instead of the Lumberjacks.
Yeah, so I'll say it. I offered Wreck Dreams. They said no. And I've seen Dean defend the Vikings in chat, saying that it was an age specific thing, which I understand. He's an S4, but he is a bat, and if you're wanting to win, the Vikings need the bats, and that could have helped them a lot, especially that he went to your division rival in the Lumberjacks, and look where they're at. Which, looking at both of the schedules, by the way, for the Vikings, they face the Unicorns next, then Liberty Express, then the Gauchos, then Knights Overdrafts. The Lumberjacks have a tough next 2 games, though. Looking at it, they got the Bombers away, and then the Gauchos away. Even though these are tough games, that's anyone's ball game between the two. I'm looking forward to the Bombers Lumberjacks game, because that's a nice little season 4 Super Series rematch. But that Gauchos Lumberjacks game, that'll be a massive one for that number 1 spot in the heroic, really. And I think that's kind of where it comes down to. And we'll talk more in league chatter in just a bit. But moving on to what is now becoming, because of you and your Dragons, a very interesting.
Despite my managership, the Dragons.
You're only a half game back of being the number 1 spot in this evolution. It takes just one upset, really, for the Gauchos, which March he could see a loss like this coming. He just doesn't want it to be the Moonshots. If I'm not mistaken, I think he said that in Twitch chat the other day. But so it's this is getting really close here with your win over the Gauchos. It's 1-1 in terms of head to head. You do have, let's see, 3 games. You have 3 games more under your belt than them.
Yeah. So I was talking with Whitney about it. I think the Giants would need to win out here, just because the Gauchos would need to lose 2 games.
Right.
Now they do play High Rollers, Lumberjacks. They could easily drop one against the Wrong Fielders, and who knows what's happening to the Vikings if the Vikings pull out something special. I still say for every single one of those games, the Gauchos is the favorite team, except for the Lumberjacks game. I think that's pretty even. So maybe the Dragons don't have to win out to force a tie, but I think the Dragons would need to win out if they want any chance of getting the division. And they unfortunately played Stingers, which that's a game I favor the Stingers. Retrievers, which, despite all of our trash talking, the Retrievers are still very much a team that can show up and do well. Knights and Walkers I'm feeling a little bit more better about, but even if I only go 3-1 there, the Gauchos all of a sudden now have to lose 3 more games this season, which is a pretty high order. So the Gauchos are still very much in control, but I was not expecting that win.
I was.
Yeah, you. Oh, we know. We know. We know you were.
But looking at the Gauchos schedule, though, it's not really an easy one. They face the High Rollers next, and then they face the Lumberjacks. So the next 2 games, those are tough ones, and those are 2 that they could definitely win, but they could also drop. So this division over the next couple of weeks is going to shape into something crazy, where we can almost see it similar to an Icons, where it comes down to it is 2 teams, which I think it really is at this point. I don't think the Wrong Fielders have any shot at winning this division, so I truly think it's down between 2 teams.
To the Wrong Fielders discussion point, which we'll delve more into this later, But it just feels like things are starting to move past them pretty quickly.
Mm.
And they had a good start, but they dragonsed it. They they started out really hot, and then you drop a game here, you drop a game there, and you think, okay, well, that's only a game. I still have 6 wins, and before you know it, you're missing postseason.
Right.
Which the Vikings are now 1 game back
Mm-hmm.
of both the overdrafts, retrievers, and wrong fielders.
Yeah.
So
The wrong
it's
fielders
I
have a tough one.
yeah,
If you
with the
look,
Wildcats. That's a huge game. Honestly, that's a statement game for both teams.
yeah.
I think a Wildcats win there re-cements them as like, hey, not only are we the top of the Epic Wild Cards, but we're basically going in now because with 8 wins and with their remaining schedule, you have to think that would pretty much do it for them. For the wrong fielders, a win puts them a half game back of the Dragons, as well as now puts the Vikings a game and a half back of them when the Vikings have to play the Unicorns. So, pending this week, the Romfielders could be 2 games ahead of the Vikings.
Yep.
Which they need.
Yeah, but a few weeks, a week or so later, they face the Gauchos back-to-back games. The wrong fielders do. So it could be a nice little two game lead in the wild card, but then that could quickly go away to obviously pending how the Vikings do on the opposite side. But back-to-back Gauchos games and moonshots after that, and they close their season off against the overdrafts, which that's I think the wrong fielders are over. I can't remember which one it was, but there is a team that is like literally the last team for everybody. There's like 3 teams that face the same team as our last in the
I usually
heroic.
face the overdrafts. This year I'm facing the Walkers.
So Vikings also face the overdrafts as their last game. Let's see there's I think one other team. But yeah, it's coming down to the wire there for the wrong fielders, where it's crucial. The pin had the pitching staff has to show up. They need another outing like Sandra Lee had the other day in their win, but they're on the chopping block at this point. Moving on though to the good old Epic, where we had a lot of chatter in the Discord about which heroic is a better the better overall conference. There's rigging going on in the Epic because there's more casters who are on the Epic. So we'll start off with the Galaxy, which as and this is now like a theme of this podcast that we talk about. There's like nothing solidified, but I truly think the Unicorns have this one locked up. I don't think the Wildcats can come back. They're only 2.5 back, but again, they're at 11 games played, so five games left.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
Let's just go and start with Angels 0-3 week. Business as usual.
Yep.
Mythic 1-1. They got a win. It was against the Angels. The Wildcats. Oh, they got a win. Who was it against? It was the Angels. And then the Unicorns. The only one here that had like a decent showing. They had a 7-3 win over the High Rollers. So that was huge for them. I think the Unicorns kind of set the precedent with that 2-0 sweep over the Wildcats, that the Galaxy is their division this year, and they've held to it. Their only loss being to a Stingers team that is, I don't know if there's a hotter team than the Stingers right now. Potentially the Lumberjacks, but I really think the Stingers are a lot. And I know people haven't been impressed with the wins that the Stingers have had. According to the stats, they're like the 4th best team. But I think given where the expectations were, and given that they have now won 10 of their last 11, I really think the Stingers are the hottest team in the SSBL.
No, I agree.
So that being your only loss as a Unicorns team, I think you feel pretty good about that. Unicorns got the Vikings next week. Wildcats got the Romfielders. Those are games where you favor the Epic side, but anything can happen. For Romfielders, we know that they can show up with their pitching. For Unicorns Vikings, they're playing at Shaka.
Shaka Showdown.
So it's the Shaka Showdown. So I'm excited to see specifically those two matchups going into next week.
Yeah.
I think this was just like a business as usual kind of week. Mythic are better than the Angels. Angels are dog trash. Um, and then the Unicorns and Wildcats just continue to take care of business. And the
Yeah.
Wildcats had a little bit of a rough stint there, so it's nice that they've gotten back on.
Yeah, it was a big win that they needed after losing two in a row against the High Rolls and Serpents. So to shut out the Angels, which again it's the Angels, but to have put up a 7-0 game is a nice little momentum swing. As you face the wrong fillers, Mythic in your next two, then you go to the Ball Players, which will be a very interesting matchup. Then you play the Mythic again, and then you end your season with the Bombers. So this is where Wildcats needed that nice 7-0 win to get that momentum swing heading into the back end of this season. Which again, Unicorns, they have a tough schedule too, but I think they're just too good to even there are some really good teams they face, and I just think they're too good. And that's going to be pretty simple, not necessarily a walk in the park, but pretty close to it. A nice light jog in the park for the Unicorns. Moving on to the Novas, the one that we've talked about so much this season, and it's kind of come down to, like we talked about before we started recording this, it's kind of, it's exactly what we really expected, to be honest with you. Stingers now 10-2, Ball Players 8-2, Skulls 4-8, Cyclones 3-6. But we talked about prior was the run differential between all the teams, and that it's a plus 39 between these four teams. So these teams are still putting up the runs and not giving up a lot, is the other thing. So I think the Stingers are the ones that have given up the most runs, in one game. So that plus 15 or minus 15 that they had in the first game of the season hasn't really helped. But this is, Stingers are, like you said, they have the momentum here. They're probably the hottest team in the league, like you said. And if we look at the ending of their schedule, what does this look like?
Next.
Cyclones. So basically then two division matchups, and then they face the reigning champions in the High Rollers at Red Rock. So that's a Red Rock Rumble. We'll call that one the Red Rock Rumble.
You're just killing
Actually, I think there's a document somewhere in there where I actually called.
I think it's in SSBL history.
It might be, because I called. There was if two teams played at the same park, I named it something, because it's the Bengata.
Ball?
I can't remember what exactly. What I named the Bengata one, since it's already bowl as it is. So
I remember seeing that in a document. I don't see it here, so it was probably in a previous document.
Yeah. It's home stadium matchup history. So Fight for Apple Field is what we called that one. This was season 3 when I named this one, because it was, I don't know why I named that one. Battle of Bengata. That's what that was called. Sakura Showdown, El Viejo Classico is what we called
I do like
that one. Motor Yard Madness, the Swagger Series, the Diamond Duel, and the Red Rock Rumble. So obviously there's new ballparks, there's new teams that double up. So we don't have those listed, but this was season 3 that this was created. So nothing has been updated here. But anyways, going back to this Nova's division, and obviously the Ball Players calling up Papa Dog to be their DH, which caused a little bit of personal for me some issues.
It's you have the biggest against anything.
Well, if you think about all the teams, and more so the teams that are contending, Terry Thunder's probably the only season 1 that's on the original team competing for in the postseason. So for me, it's you can go out. This gotta be Terry Thunder's last season in the SSBL. He's about to get hit hard with aging.
It's also the thing where he was a part of that season 1 team that lost in the Super Series.
Yeah. So it's just give the guy a chance. I don't care if he rides the bench, but come on. Anyway, I'll leave that. I'm not on Mojo down. I'll leave that to you to talk about your Mojo down. But this this one's going to shape up really nice, and I personally think the Stingers are going to pull it out. I think they had that statement win against the Ball Players. I think was massive to get that win, and I just think they're gonna ride it out, and I think Stingers will. And we'll talk about the playoff picture a little bit more in league chatter, but Stingers I think have this one. Which brings us to the Phenoms, which is my favorite one to talk about because it makes you like, I'm about to be on Mojo Down like probably in the next week, because this is starting to what I had talked about, where there's a potential 3-way tie. One team is out, 2 teams make it in. Like, this is where it's starting to get spicy. That was a statement win for the Bombers, not just for this season, but for that rivalry. I don't know the exact history of like each game.
They have won 8 of the last 11.
The 8 of the last 11. But how big of a margin? Have we seen that big of a margin of victory in this series ever? That's the big question.
It's been a while, but it's just the Bombers have had the Serpents number the past 3 seasons. I mean, even the season where the Bombers tanked, they still beat the Serpents. So
that says a lot. Which the Serpents, now sitting at 6-3, High Rollers 7-4, Bombers now at 5-4. This is, and the Serpents play the Bombers one more time. There's still that matchup, and if history repeats itself, Bombers have their number, and we'll see how it goes. Dean was confused at the home field advantage. I saw that in the chat. He was like, "Wait, I thought we were home," and it wasn't. Like, it was.
Which it's funny because again, and Elder like talked about like how much you can actually get from the stats here. My computer just froze. Okay, there we go. We're good. Yeah, I've been having that issue. I'll need to get that sorted out. Elder was talking about how we can't put too much stock into like the numbers, but I like putting stock into the numbers. And one thing is that the home advantage is negative 0.4, which just goes to show in this game that there really is no home field advantage. Maybe for some certain teams with the way like they build their rosters, but based off of what we have here, there is no home field advantage. And in fact, it's a slight edge to the away team, which I think is more so just it's a wash.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's literally a flip of a coin in terms like of every game, but like there is no home field advantage. I think I even talked about this a while on one of the first few episodes actually. If it was overrated and underrated, and there is no home field advantage really. Now that you look at it, and I think the Bombers play well in ballparks like that, where they travel to face the Serpents. So that one's just I hope that there's that 3-way tournament.
I hope there isn't.
I know you hope there isn't. Because the thing is, this could also lead to not just that, but the Wildcats could be thrown in there as well. That's the crazy.
But here's the issue, Josh. Okay, if the Wildcats get thrown in, all of a sudden, not only are we doing wild cards to get in, but also we're doing who is the champion of the division. So is it? I don't want to do this, Josh. I don't want to.
We'll save this for another time, and you could talk about it on Mojo Down next week or something. We'll just let you calm down a little bit. You got a Mojo Down here in the next like 20 to 30 minutes. We'll let you simmer down. We'll not talk about that one. But it's gonna be wild. The Epic Conference, especially the Phenoms, will make it a nightmare. More so. Moving on though, league chatter. This segment was brought on, and thanks to Shag for all of the graphics, the social media. Like it's been really nice to have that active, and the graphics are really really nice.
He's been popping in the Discord this week.
Yeah, and he captures some really nice moments that just define the game. That's what I love about those graphics, whether it's someone's head down after a strikeout or a pitcher like getting hyped after a strikeout. It's he captures the moment. Liam Fisack was in the picture, shaking the hands of his fellow teammates as he crosses home plate, but shout out to Shag for doing all that he's done as a new guy. That's the other thing. He's stepping up and helping out the league in his own way. So shout out to him, but also shout out to him for giving this idea. He wants his own segment called Tank Time.
And we're power controlled freaks, so he's not getting that.
So we'll do.
We took his idea, made it our own.
Yeah, we'll take this idea, and we'll use the Jacked General, and maybe there's a Jack suggestions, maybe, so we don't have anything.
Jacked General, the point of that is for everyone to discuss what's going on, and so like if you have hot takes or things you want to talk about, like put it in SSBL chat. But also if you want to like specifically on Jacked General, we now have a segment to talk about.
Yep, and that's where Shag had some pretty good topics to discuss, and the first one that we're going to discuss is the Epic over? And we just kind of talked about it. The Epic is over for 4 spots, in my opinion. Three spots. We'll call it 3 spots. The Epic is over.
Angels, Sparrows, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, the Epic is over because you have the Unicorns, who I think is a lock. Stingers are making playoffs. Ball players are making playoffs. That's the 3 that are the lock.
I would even say Skulls, because your elimination number is 2.
Oh no, yeah, I'm out of it. But who's making playoffs? Those are the 3 teams that are solidified, and then everything else.
You're going who's getting in. I was going with who's not getting in.
Yeah. I'm going who's getting in. And I think the Epic is only over like like we just talked about. It's between those 4 teams. It's the Wildcats, it's the Bombers, it's the High Rollers, it's the Serpents. Those are the 4 teams. 3 of those will make it in, 1 will not. That it's over in that sense where we're narrowing it down to the 4 teams, but it is far from being over. Because will the Stingers, and we'll talk about in just a second on the next one, can the Stingers, get the number 1 seed? Will the Unicorns fall off and then Stingers overtake that?
Let's talk about that. I think the Stingers very much could.
I think they could also.
I think what could happen is we could have a play-in game for that number 1 seed.
No, I agree.
Do we do play-in for number 1?
Yeah, because that's well, I'm not sure.
Let me pull up the rules.
I think we do, because that defines a lot. But if it's I think I'm not 100% sure though, because you get a bye no matter what. If you're 1 versus 2, you get a bye no matter what. I think if there was a 3rd team, there's a play-in, but I don't know if it's just between the 2. If there's a battle for the title in season.
All right, so the teams with the highest winning percentages in each conference division automatically qualify. Ooh, we're gonna need to change that because not every team qualifies for the conference semifinals, only the top 2.
Yeah.
Ties will be broken in accordance with A, B, which is that it's based off winning percentage then within the division. So there isn't. Yeah, so there is no tiebreaker game.
Yeah,
that
it's just 1 versus 2, so it's based off of the numbers.
Tiebreaker games are only for division champions, and any last postseason positions. Those are the only ones in which.
There we go. It is. You heard it here first. This is if the Stingers tie, then might as well. Like it's going to be very interesting. If the
Stingers were to tie right now, if the Stingers were to tie, they would be the number 1 because that first one is head-to-head.
And the Unicorns lost to the Stingers.
So if the Stingers and Unicorns are tied at the end of the season, the Stingers are your number 1 seed.
But let me just quickly ask this question. Is that where you want to sit at the number 1 seed, really? And I say that because, like, if you look at the picture right now, you're facing either the Ball Players or High Rollers. On the other side, you're facing Serpents, Wildcats currently, as it stands. Which one, like, out of the 2, do you want to be number 1?
Are you kidding me? If I had the opportunity to be number 1 or number 2, I want to be number 1.
Well, of course.
I don't give a crap who I have to face. I want to be number 1.
Okay.
Let me be number 1.
Respect.
I don't care who I. Hey, guess what? I'm number 1. Whoever I have to face has to face number 1.
That's
Let
true.
me be number 1.
That's true. That's true.
Don't make me change my mojo down
I
here.
respect that. I respect it. I'm gonna try to get on your good side for the next 10 minutes. But
I found the ultimate tool to make Josh not mad at me.
So for so yes, the Stingers. I think they can do it. I think they have the momentum. I think the Unicorns. They're like I said, they're a great team, but are they going to? They're facing teams that they could potentially just like they can come out of nowhere and play spoiler. So we'll see how that ends up playing out, but it's going to be a fight between them two, in my opinion, for number 1 and 2. So moving on, Shaq has saying it's a 4-way fight for the heroic number 1 seed. He has
it's a 3-way.
He has Jacks, Gauchos, Retrievers, and Drags. I don't think the Retrievers should be in this conversation. Yeah. I think it's I respectfully I think it's Drags, Gauchos, Jacks.
Drags are on the outside looking in on that.
Yes,
very much Gauchos or Lumberjacks.
And I think it's more. And I think the Jacks have a tough few games next, but I think the Jacks will end up being number 1.
Interesting.
I just think the Gauchos are that team that they might just lose something like they shouldn't, like and pull a Stingers, which is what we'll call it. They pull a Stingers and they lose something that they shouldn't. I think the Jacks though are just so powerful offensively, and the addition of Toe Jam, the addition of bringing back Sir Alex Einstein, I think it just beefs up that entire team and gives them the upper edge, in my opinion, against the Gauchos. But the Gauchos though, they have a future. The Jacks, we'll talk about that some other time. I don't think they don't got much of a future.
We don't have time this week to talk.
Yeah. Which we'll go ahead. That's all. Those are the 3 topics we took. Again, if you want to talk about anything more for us to talk about next episode, put it in the Jack General and we'll consider it depending on how crazy it is. But we're going to go ahead and as he's wiggling his fingers there, we're going to talk about the power rankings over here. We got all the teams here except for the last 3. The last 3, do they matter?
Moonshots, Angels, Liberty, cool. We covered them.
So so that's the bottom there. We'll talk about the number 1, and this, if you're new to Jacked and new to the SSBL, this is a community-based power rankings. We send out a link, or Fisack does, and then people just kind of put them where they are.
Fisack sends out the link. Fisack puts together the power rankings.
Yep.
Fisack puts everything together.
Yep, basically. Fisack does it all. So much appreciation there. The number 1, Unicorns. They were the number 1 last week, didn't move. And as you say here in the comments, Unicorns have held this number 1 ranking for all season, and no games this week kept them here. Their 1 loss this season. Look at the team below. And this is where it gets interesting. Stingers jump 3, which I think I think if I'm not mistaken, I had the Stingers at number 2 or 3. They were definitely in my top 3 if I'm not mistaken. The Stingers may have been blown out by the Wildcats and upset by the Angels, but have won 10 of their last 11 and are coming off of a 2-0 week, including a 2-0 win over the Ball Players. So I think it's a much deserved jump in the rankings there for the Stingers.
Yeah, and then well, I'm just not going to discuss every single one here, but I think some of the highlights. I think the Gauchos dropping down out of the top 3. The Dragons not moving, interestingly enough. I think the 0-3 start kind of still is lingering in terms of the effects there. But I do want to go down, if we go down to 9-10, Bombers, Serpents.
Yeah.
So let's see. For the Bombers, the Bombers have now won 3 of their last 4. They won their first home game of season 8 and 8 of the last 11 against the Serpents. The Serpents got manhandled by the Bombers, and they will look to retaliate week 10, day 1. That matchup is Hard Cheese versus Summer. So those two, obviously, the Serpents sliding down quick, the Bombers quickly sliding up. pretty much business as usual for the rest of these.
Mhm.
Lumberjacks entering the top 3. Um, they may have needed extras to handle the Vikings, but with everyone else slipping, they just kind of fell into that role. Uh, those are sort of like the big sort of movers and changers this
Mhm.
week. Of course, also the overdrafts and retrievers both dropping out of the top 10.
Yeah.
Um, so that's also huge for them. But it's
Which
like, again, like, does anyone know how to win the icons
right.
not named the moonshots?
Yeah, I don't think there is, and I think there was a little bit of a discussion as to like I think it was maybe Puppet talking about his placement at number 12, but it's like look at the teams like yes, that the 11 and 12 spot are division leaders. Like they're tied at the top of the icons division. But they are the 11th and 12th ranked team based on the community. Rightfully so, though. Look at who's ahead of them. Serpents, better than both of them. Bombers, better than both of them. Wildcats, then the list goes on and on and on. They're better than both of these teams, so they're rightfully placed, in my opinion.
How about for the overdrafts? They're 1-4 this season against teams over 500.
That
And they
says a
only
lot.
face 3 teams this rest of the season that either at or above that mark. Those teams, the Vikings, 5-5, the Romfielders, 6-4, the Retrievers, 6-4. They do not have a hard schedule, and
No,
they haven't shown up to the teams that are actually good. They beat the Dragons. What else have you done for me?
yeah, no. They haven't done any. They really haven't done anything. They have put up the numbers, obviously with a 31 run differential, but they're putting up those numbers against the teams that are below 500, not the teams above, which, as you mentioned, so that's it's. And then obviously no one moves between number 13 and 19, but the mythic move up 2 into the top 20 just because they play
Notice how
some
they're not
trash.
the highest rated expansion side.
No, the Express are, but the Express haven't played. They didn't play this week, did they?
No.
No,
They
so
haven't
they
played for a while.
yeah, it's been a while since we've seen the Express. But this is pretty standard. I think this is a perfect picture of how the league is currently. I think the community did well with what their rankings are. But that Stingers jump, that's a nice one. Bombers getting into the top 10 is a nice one as well. And I think the Bombers will continue to climb
And
these
the
rankings.
last thing, I don't think the Dragons moved because they did jump 5 places last week.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely, like, they got their moving done last week.
Yeah, yeah.
They still got a ways to go if they want to climb higher.
Yeah, which we'll see this week if they can jump up a little more and any teams fall. That's the real thing. Is yes, the climb is nice, but who falls? That's a big one. And dropping 3 spots is not fun by any regards. Sorry, Dean. So but yeah, we'll just check on these guys down here. Angels 1-9. Moonshots 0-9, and it's about to be the ultimate matchup here in the next week or so with Liberty and Moonshot. So I'm excited for that. I think it's 2 weeks away. That's probably the most anticipated game so far in the entire season. Is Moonshots and Liberty, which is so funny to think about. And it is time to get under a Fisack's skin. Not myself, but something is under his skin. Something's got his mojo down.
Shoot,
It is
my
time.
hat's already backwards.
His
What do I do?
hat's
My
already-
hat's already backwards.
Act just. It's time. Yep, hats. Oh, there we go. Orlando City repping. It is time for Mojo Down.
You know, got my mojo down this week. Well, I always have my mojo down, but the Lumberjacks slander has had enough. You've had your fun. You've gotten to rant about what you've wanted to rant about. Now it's time for me to enter with something called facts. Facts. Regular season wins since season 4. Number 1, Lumberjacks, 47 wins. Total wins since season 4. Number 1, Lumberjacks, 60 wins. Super Series since season 4. What do you know? They're one of the 4 teams to win one in the past 4 seasons. Total win percentage since season 4. The Lumberjacks, 652. The next closest is 24 percentage points below that. And the next closest after that is nearly a full 100 below. Division title since season 4. The Moonshots have 4. The Lumberjacks have 3. Guess who's on pace to get their 4th? this season. Conference title appearances. At number 2, Lumberjacks with 2 of them. The only one who's better is the High Rollers at 3. Postseason appearances, tied with the Ball Players, High Rollers, Knights, and Moonshots. The Lumberjacks at 4. You are out of your goddamn mind if you think that the Lumberjacks are not the best franchise in the history of the SSBL. By any metric, they are one of, if not the top teams. And combined with everything, it's not even close. I don't care what vendettas you have. You just hating on who the number 1 is. Listen, the time is coming. It's not sustainable. Come season 10, the bad man is going to go away. But until then, you need to realize that there is one sheriff in town, and they carry a handsaw.
Keep chopping. Oh gosh. But yes, the Lumberjacks need to be acknowledged for their greatness. I think they're we bring back overrated, underrated. They're underrated as an overall franchise. People don't acknowledge the fact that they are the best franchise, and I'm the one who created this dang league, and I'm telling you, it's not the Skulls that's the best franchise. And I would love to say that. But they're not. The Lumberjacks are. And that's just facts. Like you said, you have facts supporting that they are the best franchise in history. I would have said the Knights prior to you saying the facts, because overall,
they've had some really good runs. They made it to a lot of Super Series. I think if there's one knock against the Lumberjacks, they've only been to one Super Series, which is why I didn't include it in my stats. But I think until a team wins 2 Super Series, it's just not even close.
Yep, I agree with you on that one. So moving on to obviously a fan favorite, Panic and Chill, and I think these guys have been in this seat for at least 3 of the episodes, but it's rightfully so, because it's a very up and down, like they are such a question mark with their performances. You know, lose 1 to the Walkers, win 3, lose 1 to the Wildcats, win 2, lose, win, lose. What are the Retrievers gonna do? Is it time to panic, or can they stay chill for the time being? That's the question.
Here's the issue. I am not impressed by the Retrievers. I think many of us are not impressed by the Retrievers. They play the Angels, Liberty, and Knights still this season, and they can still very much show up. They already beat the Overdrafts once. They could very much beat the Dragons. I think they could potentially upset the Lumberjacks. The issue with the Retrievers is not that they're a bad team, it's that they play down to every single team that they face. There's only been, get this, there has been 1 game in which they scored more than 6 runs, and that was against the Moonshots. Every other game, they have scored 6 or less runs. That's not a top team. I think the reason why we're panicking and chilling is because this was supposed to be the year for them to walk through, waltz, get the heroic icons. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the postseason. They're going to get at least 9 wins this season. I'm not panicking, but I'm not happy. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Because they're just that question mark team. Like they show some signs of like, okay, the Retrievers are here, and then they go back into their dog pen, and then they don't like forget how to play baseball. I mean, we saw them. They did. I will say they did have a nice suicide squeeze. Suicide squeeze. Against was it the Vikings game? Was that what the suicide squeeze was, or was it a different game? I don't know, but I watched that this morning. I didn't even know that happened. But that was a mess, and I'm posting that.
SSBL did you watch this morning?
A good amount. Which I will be posting that on social, more so in the Facebook Super Mega Baseball group, and probably Reddit. Reddit did really well with the Angels, with the foul ball. Actually, the foul ball the crazy from Jay Watt who just bounced it and it just went into the left field corner.
Oh yeah,
that had like as of this morning, I think it was like 23 upvotes and like 13 comments.
Subreddit
13 comments, but all the comments were talking about what is actually a foul ball. It was quite funny and a good read if you want to figure out what people think a foul ball really is. So go to Reddit.
That's where I go to find out my foul ball knowledge.
Go there to check that out. But anyways, we'll move on to the next one. Lottery hopefuls. What do you mean by lottery hopefuls? These are the teams that are basically just gone. They're not going to make playoffs. Cyclones, you got the Skulls, you got the Liberty, the Moonshots, Express, Mythic, Angels. And I say, is it time to panic? Because, and there's one team in mind where it's time to panic, and that is the Cyclones. Why? Because the Cyclones have 2 picks in Season 9. They don't really have much young talent. They're still heavily Season 4. They don't own their round 1 pick in Season 9. The Bombers do. The Bombers own the Cyclones pick. So they don't even, the lottery is useless for them. Their next pick is, they do have their round 2 and their round 3, which that round 2 is more so going to be probably like what, the 28th pick, maybe 29th pick in the draft. I'm panicking. You traded 2 first rounders last draft for Bean Machine, and he's batting like what, sub 100. Like,
it's not good.
It's not great at all. And I think it's some of these teams, I think I just counted, there's 3 teams that don't control their round 1 pick. Angels, it's the Gauchos, Cyclones, the Bombers, and then obviously the Skulls, the Knights. But that's fine. I'm fine with that because I got a nice little young squad on my team. So I'm fine with that. I'm not panicking yet if I'm the Skulls, but for like the Cyclones, the Angels luckily bounced back and got 6 picks. So I'm not really panicking there, but they don't control that round 1. They do have the Serpents round 1 though, but that's probably gonna, well, actually it could be a lottery pick depending on how that chaos shapes up in the Phenoms. That could be a lottery pick, but the chances are not really in their favor. Are these teams that are trying to, they're in the lottery more than likely, is there time to panic for them, or they kind of chill, or if my claims of the Cyclones, is it time for them to panic is the best way to put that one?
I think that as someone who often trades away his own first round picks, I am very much panicking in terms of what's the point of you playing the season, because you're not winning, as well as losing doesn't help you all that much. Like getting earlier picks in later rounds, sure, but not nearly as important as getting those picks in the first round.
Yep.
I don't even think I have my pick in this upcoming first round. I'm pretty sure I don't.
You do.
Oh, you know what? I think I have the Gauchos round 1, if I recall correctly.
You have the Dragon.
No, I do. I have my own first round pick. I forgot what I traded to get it, but I have you back. Hey,
I want to say it was. I want to say it might have been a trade. I remember this trade too when you got it back. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh yeah, what I gave up and what I got back.
Yeah, I remember.
I didn't mean to make this about the Dragons. Oh, You know who I traded to? To you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I gave you Fran Welder. You gave me a round 1.
Yeah.
Anyways, all this to say that definitely panicking, without a doubt panicking, because you need those round 1s to do anything sustainable.
Right, and I'm also looking at the Angels, for example. They obviously, as I mentioned, they have the 1 first rounder. They have 6 total picks. That's beside obviously not counting the compensation picks. But they have 6 total picks in this draft. But you have one of yours, and you have a mythic. Those are all in the 3rd round. That Angels have their 3rd round pick and the mythic 3rd round pick. They have the ball players 3rd round pick as well. That's going to be like compensation pick at this rate. The Stingers 2nd round pick. That's a basically early 3rd round pick. And then you have the High Rollers 2nd round pick. So like their picks are way towards like upper 40s and low and like early 50s for all their picks, which yes, they're all going to probably be bunched together there. outside of the ball players pick, but like for what you gave up, I don't know. I'm almost panicking if I'm the Angels, because yes, it's more so because the draft is we nerfed the draft and like the players. The Angels are not going to compete for probably 3 more seasons if you think about it. Like 3 more seasons.
They could start doing something in 2 seasons, but yeah, it's gonna be a while. And I also do realize that there have been a lot of roster movement, but I think maybe we wait to do roster movement next week once the trade deadline is closed. We'll talk about the last couple of ones.
Doctor, if you're watching this, trade. Just sell everything. Just if you want to keep Kyle Edwards, I understand, but trade everybody. Trade everybody.
Hey, as someone who traded Brock Hansen, you will never get over the thrill of trading your ace. I'm telling you.
Kyle Edwards.
Trade Kyle Edwards.
But here's the thing. Here's my philosophy on how I prefer to trade to the other conference. Don't let it come back to bite you in the ass. And we play Buzz Yellow this week. So he might hit like 2 home runs after I trade him. Who knows? But like trade across to the other conference. Do not trade in your division. Do not trade in your conference. Just trade. Send them to the other side. That's my philosophy.
I love trading within my division. Gauchos and I, Marge and I, it's like a cultural exchange program. They get both Gauchos and Dragons experience.
Yeah, I'm not much of a trade. I've done it, but I don't like it because it always comes back and bites me.
If you're saying you're not much of, that's a goddamn lie.
No, I've done it, but I don't like it. I prefer to look at my trades with the Dragons. I got my trades with the Knights. I got my trades with the Overdrafts. I got a trade with the Lumberjacks. They're not in our conference. So I like shipping people away, and look at what the Lumberjacks are doing with Rec Dreams. He's actually waking up. So yeah, I'm panicking, man. I'm hoping that I can speak some last minute existence into some trades, some big time trades. Even though this will go up at like 3 p.m. Central Time this Saturday, maybe even earlier, maybe 1 p.m. just to get a little.
And then you'll send it directly to Doctor,
yes,
and you'll say,
timestamp it
here, time code here.
Check this out here. Check this out there.
Now.
Yes, you just go.
You have 9 hours. Deadline day. Go.
Sell. Which now brings us to the week ahead. Which I have not done mine yet, but last week I went 5-0, including Super Saturday. So yay for me. You went 4-1. Your one was the Dragons game. Your own game. All right, we got Toe Jam versus Dixon on day 1. Our SSBL game of the night presented by Turtle Beach for day 1. Lumberjacks at Bombers. This is a tough one to really choose, in my opinion. You have it as 8-7 Bombers. I'm gonna go with the Lumberjacks, and I'm gonna go, and I say it because I think Toe Jam's gonna have a solid game. I'm gonna go with 6-3.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go 6-3.
Yeah, I go 8-7 Bombers here. I'm gonna be honest. What I did was I looked at what the numbers told me, and so for this week, I'm doing what the numbers told me. I'm going, oh, you are having a laugh, good sir. What you just put in for day 2, game of the night. Wildcats at Romfielders, Beef Boy versus Daryl Cage. I have the Wildcats at 6-3. You are putting on a disgrace. You used to manage that team.
Yeah.
Do you feel good, Josh?
They're my first.
Do you feel good?
So fun fact: the Wrongfielders were my first ever created team when I got into the Super Mega Baseball franchise. I created the Wrongfielders. It was the first team I ever created. Second was the Skulls. But so here's my reason behind this: is where do the Wrongfielders play? They play Colonial Plaza. The Wildcats have the bats to just hit a line drive into left or hit a line drive into right. Though it's like Dinger City for Wildcats. And I just think they're going to put up the runs. They just had a 7-0 shutout victory. I do not think it's going to be Beef Boy that's going to go the entire game and have a complete game shutout. But I don't think, unless it's Pedro Cruz putting up runs, I don't think anyone else will.
This is utter disgrace. 8-0. Utter disgrace. Let's move on to the last one. Day 3 is stacked. Day 3 is absolutely stacked in terms of the schedule. Like all of them are just really, really good games. You've got Mythic at Liberty. You got High Rollers at Gauchos, which the only reason that wasn't selected as game of the night is because of Dragons Stingers and then Unicorns and Vikings. Like all of those are really, really good matchups. It's going to be Ting on the mound for the Dragons versus Gold for the Stingers. I'm putting the Stingers 7-6. I just think they're going to have the edge, especially being at Red Rock.
I'm
This
just
might
gonna.
be the Dragons' first time playing at Red Rock.
It's gonna be for since the overdrafts left. It'll be the first time since. So whenever the overdrafts left, because they were used to be at Red Rock.
Overdrafts are at Red Rock?
They went from Red Rock to Tiger Den, and then back. Then they went to El Vijo. So they were at Red Rock originally. So it's been a while since I think you've played there.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
That was like what, season 5 that we expanded, because that was the first game. Yeah, that was the first season of the new of Super Mega Baseball 3 was season 5. So you haven't played since season 4 at Red Rock.
That's why I don't remember, because I try to block out season 4 as much as I can.
Okay, so I have you upsetting them, and yes, I am on the Stingers trail. But the thing is I'm looking at Pot of Gold. He is a pot of gold, but look at, like, I just think that Ting is going to have a better outing than that of Gold.
Last time that we disagreed on Dragons picked the Dragons one, so I'm not too mad here.
I do think it's going to be close, 4-3. I don't think it's going to be one of those games where it's like, I think very similar to, what was it, the Skulls Stingers game this past week, where it was like 4 or 5 innings of like just, it was like a pitcher's duel. Like it was, I think it was Robin Ryan, right? Was that?
Yeah, Ryan
and Ensalada. They had a combined probably 19 strikeouts in the first like 4 or 5 innings. I see something very similar here with this game, and I'm going to go Dragons 4-3 as the final. So that's my take, which that day alone, like you said, is such a good day of baseball. I don't know who's going to be on the call for that day. We'll find out. I hope it's you, because I would like to hear you call that Stingers game.
Well, we know it's not going to be squared.
Yeah, not going to be squared. But no, it's going to be a really good week of baseball. And, things have gone really well for us here in the SSBL. Posting a lot more. There's a lot more activity in the, not just the Discord, but also in the Twitch chat, getting a lot of new faces coming in. We
peaked at, take a look at the stats, pull them up real quick of this past week, but I think we had like a ridiculous number of people watching. I think we had like 20 viewers.
Let's see. We'll go to channel analytics we'll start it the 25th through the 27th. Oops. 25th, 27th. Peaked at 17. We had 68. Oh, so close to 69 unique viewers. 68 unique viewers, 178 live views, but 4,495 minutes watched so far this past week, which if we go back to the entire season so far, we have now approached 50,000 minutes watched of the SSBL on Twitch. 50,565 minutes watched. Our max so far this season is 22. Let's see if we can try to bump that up and get to that 23 mark. 17 new followers this season, though. That's a nice little number there. 373 unique viewers tuning into the stream. 2,354 live views. And if we look at this, we've had 16 total subscriptions this season, which I want to say is probably the most that we've had in a single season. So season 8's looking great. Obviously our Turtle Beach sponsorship and their partnership with them is really nice. So if you are new to the SSBL, make sure you do tune into the stream, and specifically that game 3, that game of the night presented by Turtle Beach, which you can win a free headset by just typing here, which I'm going to go ahead and announce this week's winner for the Turtle Beach headset. And this week will be Shag. He has a completely different name in the chat, which sometimes it drives me crazy. But Shag wins it this week. So shout out to you. If you are watching this as this happens, shoot me your information, your name, address, and phone number, so I can send it over to Turtle Beach, and they can
number,
social. Go ahead and mail me your passport if you have that too. I'll take care of that. And yeah, identity is taken over. So yeah, send me all your information. Congrats on winning. We have some big time headsets to give away towards the end of the season, and that are these puppies right here, as well as a brand new one that they are coming out with, if they haven't come with already. Soon, my friend, soon. So thanks as always for tuning in to Jacked. My name is Jay Watt alongside Fisack. We will see you next week for episode 9.
Keep on rigging, everybody.